Hey everybody, welcome to Creative Mornings. I think this is our our buzziest, highest energy morning. I think we can all agree it's a combination of the amazing food we had donated from Ad Astra, which is amazing. And then Michelle, who's actually going to take the microphone in just a second, also made some homemade like oats and oatmeal, like hipster oatmeal. So it's really, really nice to have some hipster oatmeal as well. My name is Danny, and Mike Buffalo and I, over the summer, started to talk about this idea of creating a community, sort of a cross-cutting community that would help bring people together, reduce fragmentation in the area. And so we applied to start a chapter of Creative Mornings here. We made this video, we had to fill out a bunch of essay questions, and then we were accepted into starting a chapter here. And that's actually been a really meaningful thing. So this is what, our fourth or fifth gathering. We have some past speakers in the room, which is amazing, like Catherine Styler, who's our first. There you are, Catherine. Eli Woolery to her right. And that's also really cool. The idea that people would come back and visit with us as well is really special. This, I think, in particular, feels like the most communal of our Creative Mornings events, in the sense that Leslie and I, my wife Leslie and I, were talking about this, and she's like, wow, it didn't seem like you were doing quite as much for Creative Mornings this time. And I was like, well, it just felt like so many other people stepped up to help. So I just want to thank that group of people. You're going to meet a lot of them today, but I want to express my gratitude for that, because this is how it's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be like, one person working 10 or 15 hours, which is definitely where it was at the beginning. And so I'm really, really grateful for that. We started this to really lift our creative community, to bring together disparate parts of the community, and I would just say that, like, I'm really humbled by who we have here today. I think this is going to be our, no offense to previous speakers, we are continuing to improve, I think, the content, and I can say, I think with full confidence, this is going to be our best program that we've had. So I'm really excited. And just a little bit about me. We moved here a few years ago, and we got really inspired kind of by the area and the opportunity. And so this is something that kind of came out of that energy. Today, though, we have a guest host. This is someone that you may know already personally. She's really a pillar of the creative community, and she's become a friend. So, Michelle, why don't you come up here at this point? Yeah, so the funny thing about Michelle and I and this idea about a guest host is that we actually independently came up with the idea, and then when we talked about it, we sort of had already agreed, because somehow we just sort of knew that this was the right thing to do, and it was a very straightforward conversation. But I want to say thank you. So I'm going to be...
I want to say thank you too.
Yeah, well, thank you for saying thank you. I am going to excitedly hand these mechanisms. You have a microphone, so
you didn't teach me how to use that.
It's really hard. You hit the arrow. Where's Lucas? Disappears. Where's Lucas? Lucas vanished.
I will read his mind.
All right. I think it's pretty straightforward. Oh, well, actually, do you want to thank these people? These ones?
Oh, cool. Yeah, Ad Astra. I reached out to them. I'd previously asked for a donation when we did a fundraiser, really successful fundraiser for a local foundation called Gathering for Women. They feed loads of women that are homeless on the peninsula, and it was a really wonderful fundraiser at Renee Norman Schuler's amazing new artistic studio downtown. But basically, I asked them too late in the game, and they're like, anytime you have something else, email me. So I was like, remember that thing. And they donated some delicious bread, and then Happy Girl Kitchen also donated, and I brought... Well, this limited edition strawberry lemon jam.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Where that came from.
Actually, it went on my tab, but I donated it.
Okay.
I just wanted to share their vibe in the community. Yeah. And I thought bread needs jam.
Yeah, no, it's great.
And you donated the butter. Thanks.
I did donate the butter.
Yeah.
And
House of 8 Media, Mike.
Yeah, there's Mike. House of 8 Media. We want to thank Mike and his whole crew. Wave Street Studios, Rhett and Judy. Rhett and Judy hosted like a very a big concert last night. Sorry, they hosted a big concert last night, and so I appreciate that Rhett and Judy were like willing to kind of like scratch this together super early. They probably would have otherwise really wanted to sleep in as my guest. So thank you to Rhett and Judy.
Yeah.
Yay.
You guys are amazing, and Rhett Rhett, he has this space here really for the community. And I came by last night to scope out the scene and make sure the piano was in the right place. And it's a CSUMB class, and they're trying to get their artistic vibes out. And there was a kid rapping, and it was really cool. And I was just like really glad that was happening.
Yeah, that's a great thing. That's really cool. We want to get CSUMB more connected to the broader community. I'll just mention a few others here. A Creative Mornings tradition actually is to change venues on occasion. And so we are bravely going to be changing venues next month to Wendy Kirby Music, which is a new studio. Wendy's here. Where are you, Wendy? There you are, Wendy. And Wendy is a musician, recording artist. You're a recording artist, is that right? Okay, yeah. This came out of my mouth, and I wasn't actually sure if that was true. And so we're going to be at her studio on Hartnell Street in Old Monterey, and so that'll be really fun. It is, and by no means, of course, us spurning the incredible hosts we've had here at Wave Street, but it is really a Creative Mornings tradition to kind of mix up the venue, mix up the energy, and to bring kind of new ideas, things forward. Well, it'll feel different, especially because we all obviously are so comfortable here at this point. I mean, look at this group. So that's something I want to say. The Pearl Works, Alora's here somewhere. I saw you, there she is. And Alora very early on, her and I met, and we basically decided that we would kind of help promote each other, kind of this sort of community partnership. And so there are some Pearl Works folks here, so thank you for that. And so if you're interested in kind of being on that logo board, you can take this QR code, Shell. That's the link that we talked about. So yeah, all right. And I'm going to hand it over to Michelle.
I don't need a mic because I'm...
Oh, that's right.
Cool. Well, I just want to say that back to Alora and ProWorks, I've been there, and I wish, what I really appreciate about Danny is he's like, okay, I'm going to start this Creative Morning things, and here's his like Silicon Valley vibes, right? Like, he comes in, he sets this thing up, and he's like, community, you will love, and we do, and meanwhile, I've been running my magazine for like 2 years, and I'm like just trying to like learn how to collaborate. And so this is a really great petri dish of experimentation for me to trust that people are going to pick up and work together. And I love that that's kind of coming into play here in the community. But the best part about Creative Mornings is highlighting amazing people in the community and giving us the spotlight to witness one another. And I'm super excited to introduce our guests today. Our main speaker is Zach Weston, and I've had the opportunity to work with the Westons for a really long time as a photographer. It's been foundational for my career to have this artistic community to support me, which has been so wonderful and grateful. I just can't give my thanks enough. So I'm excited to feature him today and have his presentation. And then, to my surprise, we have I already knew there was I saw one of the performances from Carmel Dance Festival at the Sunset Center, but I didn't realize that Lillian Barbiado, who is going to be our opening presenter, is the woman behind that. So I'm super excited. I was very grateful to talk to her on the phone the other day, and apparently she's got something special for us I'm really excited about. It's still a mystery to me, so I'm going to let Lillian open. Oh, here she is. Oh my gosh. So much going on here. I haven't read this. Where did I do my homework? Juilliard? Okay, amazing. And when we talked on the phone last night, I was like, Lillian, I heard this thing once that is illegal to dance in the Middle East. And I learned this at like a dance experimental workshop where I'd like liberated some pretty profound feelings and transmuted them. And I learned that, and I thought, what is the power of dance if it is illegal, right? Like where's that potential that we even can unlock for ourselves? So I want to introduce Lillian to come on up and tell us more about what she does. Do I give her this thing? Yeah.
Hello and good morning. Thank you so much, Danny and Michelle and Rhett, for having Carmel Dance Festival here. Again, my name is Lillian. I've danced my whole life. Oh, I have to control this? Yes, please. Thank you. Quick pass off. So the Carmel Dance Festival is a nonprofit that was founded in 2021 by myself and my better half, Grant Barbito, my husband, who's here, to bring world-class dance to the Monterey Peninsula, and also to have a professional dance company here. So if you're not aware of it, there is a professional dance company based in the peninsula called Ballare Carmel, which means to dance Carmel. And we're in the business of animating rhythm. So when I think of rhythm, which is our theme today, first I think of music. But dance for me is the visual that goes along with music. And so we're going to show you some examples of how Ballare Carmel uses rhythm in our pieces. The first is Bach's Chaconne by violin. The second is drums. And the third piece of music will be piano by Errol Garner, who was recorded live at the Sunset Center. Thank you. Thank you. And we have a very special treat. Carmel Dance Festival has flown in an award-winning duet from Madrid to perform tomorrow night. This is my shameless plug. 4:30 and 7 o'clock tomorrow at Esteban Restaurant. And last weekend, they competed in the Palm Desert Choreography Festival, and they won the grand prize. So without further ado, I would like to have you meet Arthur Bernard Bazin. Did I do better? Yeah, he's nodding his head. And also Loredana Gargano. Please welcome them. So, of course, if you want to see more, that's just a teaser. And we had them pick a section that was very rhythmic with your feet. And you can see that there's a lot of trust needed in order to do that. One of the things that I love about Hurricane is a lot of dance is very presentational, almost like a peacock, is sometimes when I'm viewing dance. And there is an authenticity that it happens in their work. And it's so raw and honest. So I adore them. And it's lovely to have them here. Thank you so much for having us.
Okay, so now, Zach. So I'm excited to introduce you. There's so many words that I could say, but I feel like Zach and I kind of grew up together a little bit, like distant cousins of amazing creativeness. Obviously, the Weston legacy is super brand, so. But Zach's done an incredible job in making sure that the Weston legacy continues in service to the wider community and keeping photography alive for our local school systems. I'm really fortunate to be on the board for the Weston Collective, and I love seeing how much the Weston Collective has grown. So I really am so grateful to Zach. Very excited. Do you have a little thingy? Oh, you have the thingy. Yeah. Okay. All right. I leave it to you.
Is this working?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Well, thank you, Michelle. Thanks, Danny and Creative Mornings for having me. For those who don't know, my name is Zach Weston. I'm a photographer, teacher, and the executive director of the Weston Collective. So in addition to creating my own work, I'm super passionate about teaching photography to the next generation of our photographers, as well as giving the opportunity for the community to create art as well. So I'll talk a little bit about my family and then sort of go into mine as well. So my family has a deep connection to the art and the land in this area. So it all started with my great-grandfather, Edward Weston, who moved here in the 1930s. And my family actually still lives in his home in the Carmel Highlands. And that's where I grew up, never moved, just been living there my whole life. Yeah, so it's a special, this place is a special meaning to me and my family. So, ever since I was a young child, photography has been in my life. Coming from 4 generations of photographers, it's sort of, a standard practice, I think. My earliest memories are sitting by the fire in Wildcat Hill when my parents would have these artist gatherings where artists from the community would come and they would show their work currently, like what they were currently working on. So yeah, those memories I have, I think probably subconsciously influenced me in my photographic career as I got older. And my parents never forced photography on me, and I'm super fortunate that they didn't, because I think if they had, I probably would have burnt out of it probably before I left high school. So yeah, I never took a photography class. Everything that I've learned from my dad, Kim Weston, and just looking at my family's work pretty much. And being there with all those artist friends showing their work and being able to see all these different, painting, photography, and sculptures. So growing up, we frequented gallery openings, as one does in a photographic family. And I would always get the question, have you started photography? And I was always, no, not yet. And, I don't think people knew that I hated that question. I knew it was always going to come. And in reality, it probably pushed my photographic career farther down because there was this huge expectation for me to become a photographer. Maybe, I guess it's just a generational, thing, being the 4th generation. I don't know if that's the same with my dad. I think my dad started doing photography when he was 6. Maybe that's just how it was. So, yeah, I started getting into the rhythm of photography when I was in college. So, didn't do it high school, not as a little kid. I remember one time having a little camera that I took a portrait of my grandfather at Wildcat, but that's like pretty much the only photo I really did. And how I got into photography is I needed a Mother's Day gift for my mom. So I asked my dad to teach me the photographic process. And I wanted to take a picture of our cat at the time, named Eddie after Edward. So yeah, my dad gave me one of his cameras. He showed me how to develop and print. And I think there was a feeling of comfort, being in the darkroom when I was a little kid sort of came back. I spent a lot of time as a young kid in the darkroom with my dad working, super early in the mornings, just laying in front of the heater. So yeah, being in there, doing that Mother's Day gift for my mom was pretty much the first time I experienced the true photographic rhythm of photography. There's just all these, with darkroom photography, all these sequential steps that you must follow in order to get the final print, starting with the light, timing in the camera, developing, printing. And even if all those steps aren't followed, sometimes it still doesn't work out for you. So for my work, I continue to work on my photography skills and printing in the darkroom. What I really like photographing are the things that people might not notice day to day. I think a lot of the times it's hard for photographers to photograph close to home because usually it's things that you see every day. Sometimes you sort of gloss over them and it's hard to look a little deeper at what your surroundings are. And that sort of are what we teach our kids because we're at campuses, so we're photographing where they are at school every day, but we ask them to go a little deeper into like what they're actually looking at and what they're actually photograph. And it's amazing what they pick up that they might not have seen in the first, however many years they've been at that school. So with the silver gelatin photographic process, it's a rhythm, a dance of chemistry, time, light, and it's interesting with the rhythm theme. I think maybe a lot of my photographs that I've been doing don't really convey rhythm. I'm sort of leaning towards this abstract, I don't know if it was called chaos sort of look, but it's definitely not uniform set. It's sort of all over the place. Maybe that is because photography is such a meticulous art. All the steps have to be perfect. You have to, wear gloves and not get any scratches or dust or dirt. And sort of this is like my way to sort of go outside the lines. Even if you have like a microscopic piece of dirt in the mount press, you have a perfect print, but with a big hole in it. So it's such a fragile art. And then when you get it right, it feels very good. So we'll start with my great-grandfather, Edward Weston. Like I said, I'm a fourth-generation photographer, and I think to better understand my work, my influences, it's important to look at my family's photography. People ask who my favorite photographers are. I don't really know that many other than my family. And obviously the photographers of this area that are friends, I don't really look at other photographers' work to be that much to gain inspiration. So it's mostly just my family's stuff. So Edward Weston's photographic process was not to alter or manipulate his photographs, and this was called straight photography. He wanted, he made, he didn't make it, but he was part of the process of making photography and art. And he wanted to show that what he saw, what he photographed was what came out in the final print. So much of a documentary almost photographer. He was the first photographer to get the Guggenheim Award. These peppers are a perfect example of that straight photography. Pepper 30 on the right is probably his most iconic image. He did many peppers. As you see, the one on the left is 35 pepper 35. And this one just happens to be the one, pepper 30 that resonated people with most, so they can, because people look into it and see different things. You can see the photo on the left is in the 1920s, and so this was still when photography was not really considered an art. Photographers were battling with trying to make their photographs sort of look like paintings, so they were using, it's the pictorialist style, so it's really soft focus, soft light. And then you can see, the one on the right is in 1936, and that's 227N, one of his most iconic nudes. And it's funny, Edward had a very simple way of numbering his photographs. So 227N means that's the 227th nude that he did. But you can see the one on the right is he's totally switched into that straight photography, f/64, everything's in focus. You know, what you see is what you get. Interesting story about this one is Edward really didn't like that shadow that cuts her on the left because it sort of distorts the figure. I mean, that just shows you like how he wanted it to look exactly like it was. And then Karis, his wife, didn't like the bobby pins in her hair. So next we have Brett Weston. So Brett was Edward's son, and he was well-known. He was a well-known photographer during his life. I think he was once called the child genius of photography. My work is sort of right now influenced by a lot of his photography. So he's known for his punchy abstracts, and he sort of is the opposite of his father in that what he took, if you were to see that in real life, it probably wouldn't look like that. So he was able to use development and printing techniques to create this vision that he saw. So he was awesome at looking all the way to the final print while taking the picture to see what that final print was going to look like. To show his vision. His work really resonates with me. I think that a lot of his images that he takes are sort of under that same idea, capturing something that not everybody sees, taking the extra time to really look at your surroundings, because there's a lot of things around if you just take the time to look. So Brett was also a sculptor, so he was a multi-dimensional artist, and I think he did the carvings because, like I was saying earlier, photography is such a fragile art that, you know, you have to be clean, no dust, fingerprints, all that stuff. And with sculpture, he was able to really get his hands dirty and, you know, get into the art. And it's pretty cool to see. The one on the left is a photograph he did, you know, bird dune, and then carving it on the right. It's pretty cool. So next we have my grandfather, Cole. So Cole was Edward's youngest son and my grandfather. He was a pioneer in color film photography. He started initially doing black and white, sort of the traditional Weston stuff, but then I think he wanted to separate himself from his father and brother and went sort of on that color photography route. I think he was like one of the first photographers to really go headfirst into the color photography. Cole was also very active in the community. He was involved with the Forest Theater and was one of the founders of the Center for Photographic Art. So teaching and giving back to your community are very important and strongly encouraged in my family, sort of where the teaching and the Weston Collective comes into play. Next, we have my dad, Kim, and he is my father and the grandson of Edward Weston. He is the one that taught me everything I know about photography up to this point. So, like I was saying earlier, some of my earliest memories are lying in front of the heater in the darkroom on Wildcat Hill while my dad printed in the early morning. You know, I wasn't so much interested in the photographs he was making, but being warm and with my dad while he worked was more important as a young kid. I found the motions and steps he would repeatedly take while developing and printing was soothing, going from the enlarger to the developer. It felt like a special place, and it was one of my favorite things to do as a young child. Little did I know that my passion in my own art would eventually lead me to working in the darkroom on my own photography. So my dad's work is very theatrical. He does a lot of set building, a lot of storytelling in his work. He was in construction for 40 years, so he had the ability to construct these intense sets in his studio and sort of construct his own photographs. He also does painted photographs, so he takes oil paintings and paints over his silver gelatin photographs. And I think that's similar to how Brett did his carvings. Wanted to get away from that super fragile surface of a photograph and be able to get it dirty and throw paint around and use your fingers and all that. So he's been doing that for quite a while now. So now that I got a brief history of the photographers in my family, I'd like to share some of my own work. To be honest, I don't do very well when I talk about my own stuff. I think sometimes that happens with artists. It's easy to talk about other people, but when you want to talk about your own stuff, it's a little difficult. I think it's funny, my dad told me that people would go up to Brett and, because Brett did all these abstract-y, crazy things, and people would always ask him, like, what does it mean? And he would always just say, the work speaks for itself. And it's funny because I think the same way. It's like, I take these photos and it's the viewer's interpretation. Everybody's going to be different how they look at a piece of art. So after that Mother's Day gift, and I got, a camera and started working with it, I went right into the studio. The one on the left is one of my first times working in the studio. I grew up in that studio, so to be able to photograph in it was very special. Learning how to use the camera, learning how to capture light effectively, and sort of just practicing the rhythm of the darkroom, rhythm of photography. There's a lot to learn, a lot of steps that you have to learn. So that time I was really capitalizing on having my dad to teach me and to troubleshoot mistakes that I came across. The one on the right is more recent, and it's 2021. It's of Print of the Month portfolio, and the Print of the Month portfolio is something that actually Edward did. He would mail out a photograph to collectors every month, and my parents have been doing that, I think, since 2001 with my dad's work. And starting 3 years ago, we started collaborating with the Print of the Month. So my dad does 6 images and I do 6 images, which has been a really awesome, fun process. Me and my dad are super competitive, so it's sort of fun to compete over who got the best photo. A healthy competition. The one on the right is from a series inspired by Balthus. Like I was saying, painters really influenced my dad's work. So it was, he had a lot of work and ideas from painters over the years. So it was fun for me to, like I said, I never took a photography class, so I never had like an assignment, like a photography assignment. So this was almost like my first photography assignment, is to look at the Balthus paintings and figure out how I wanted to translate that with my own photography. And so this is one of my favorite of that series. It's fun, and we're still doing it. This year our Print of the Month is the theme is water, so a lot of my water abstracts, and next year I think we're going to hopefully do it again. So this is a photograph of Dolly's house in Spain. In 2015, we went and taught a workshop there, and we were lucky enough to be able to photograph at Dolly's house before it opened. And this was early in my career. I think I I think I lugged a 4x5 all the way to Spain. I don't know why. But yeah, we teach workshops all around the world. My parents have been teaching workshops since 2001, and over the past couple of years, I've started help take over the photography workshops, and we do 2 a year at our home on Wildcat Hill, as well as abroad in other countries. We just got back from a workshop in Portugal and Italy, which is super fun. So it's awesome to be able to travel to these places and be able to photograph and, create with these participants that come to learn about photography. And it's been an awesome opportunity and experience for me to help sort of run these events. So this photograph was taken in Point Lobos at Weston Beach, and Weston Beach used to be Pebbly Beach, but Ansel Adams got it changed to Weston Beach. I don't remember the year, maybe in the 70s or so, but it's a very special place, I think, to my whole family. Edward, Brett, my dad, Cole, me. Yeah, it's a special place for us to have and to be. And every time I go there, I just, want to photograph everything I see. This one was a particularly special time. It was during the COVID shutdown, and there was nobody in Point Lobos at all. So we got the chance to go and photograph, and it was just, spectacular time. One of the things that I really like doing is taking something that's small and making it look big. So, something like this is probably like this big, but then, when you take a photo of it and then you blow it up, you get to really see all the intricacies of it. And sort of like Brett's saying about the work speaking for itself, I think it's cool for the viewer to look at it and sort of develop their own thoughts and feelings about what they see, what they feel, and sort of come up with their own conclusion. What I like about abstracts is that you can just look at them for a long time and pick up new things. I mean, sometimes I look at my photographs and I see new things that I might not have seen. And, maybe like the foam is what initially attracted my attention, but after printing it, I really love the rocks on the side that sort of tie it all together. So this photograph was taken down at my grandfather's house in Garrapatta Canyon. He used to run a trout farm down there, and it's one of my favorite places to photograph. The pond, every time I go down there, it's just always something different and new to photograph, and it's always like a super exciting time. So that's another example of something being close to home. I grew up going there, and my dad grew up there. My parents got married there. I just got married there. So it just goes back to that like family tie to the land and that special feeling that I get just being there, knowing all the history of my family that's been there. And so that just adds on to the work, I think. Whether or not it comes across, it's how I feel when I'm down there photographing, and I'm, really into this abstract sort of idea of photography. So here are a couple more examples of the pond photographs, the still lifes. Taking something like these that you pretty much have to be there at the moment. That's sort of the trouble with like landscape photography a lot of the times, which is like why my dad shifted to studio work, that he, when he wanted to photograph, he could photograph, and there's no weather or anything that's going to mess that up. With here, you almost have to be there at the right time. I mean, big gust of wind can blow all of that stuff away, which I think it's cool. Sometimes it's annoying if you don't get it when you get it, but it's just the process of going back, going to a spot, learning about it, seeing new things, and making, the common uncommon is sort of how I look at it. And, like Brett's punchy work, really working on contrast is something that we teach to our students as well. I think a lot of the times what I see with film photography is that lack of punchiness. Unfortunately with with film photography, there's almost a trend to where like it's okay if it looks bad. So I try to teach my kids that that's not the case, that you can actually make a beautiful photograph with film. It just takes a little bit more time and attention to detail. All my files that you see online are scans of prints, so I don't ever scan negatives because I want to be able to know that I can actually make that print in the darkroom. I don't want to scan it onto the computer and mess around with contrast and brightness and then try to go print it and not be able to get anything close to that. So I always do the full process and then I scan my work. So, just as my father taught me photography and his father taught him, I feel it's important to continue the teachings to the next generation. And we're so thankful to have the ability to teach that Weston style of straight photography to the youth of our communities. So the Weston Collective is the nonprofit that I am the executive director of. And we have nearly 20 years of commitment to nurturing, teaching, and supporting fine art photography among the residents and youth of Monterey Bay. The Weston Collective is where science, technology, and art meet through photography to enlighten students' lives. And we offer after-school programs, mentorships, exhibitions, workshops, and the annual Weston Collective Scholarship Competition. So I'll talk a little bit about the Weston Collective and where we started and where we are now. So the Weston Collective is a multi-dimensional art and studio space at Martin Luther King School of the Arts, for those that have been to our studio. We have a classroom, computer lab, studio, and a gallery. So it's a place where photography is taught, created, and exhibited. So in addition to in-person collaborative workshops and mentorships, after-school programs that we do, we also post a lot of our stuff on our social media platforms and our website with posts and videos. So even those that can't physically visit our headquarters are able to see what we're doing. So, yeah, I quickly want to thank the donors of the programming that have sponsored us these past couple of years, including the Arts Council for Monterey County, the Chapman Foundation, the California Arts Council, and the Community Foundation for Monterey County, and donations from individuals. A huge part of why we're able to do what we do is support from the community. So super thankful to have such a rich photographic community in this area that want to see the youth be introduced to cameras and be able to express themselves in that form of art. So the Weston Collective was founded in 2004, and it was founded by my parents, Kim and Gina, because they saw a trend of art programs being cut, photography programs not getting funding. So they wanted to create a little bit of an incentive for students to take the class, make the portfolio, and have an end goal to look forward to. It's been great. This year is going to be our 20th year. The Weston Scholarship invites high school and college students from Monterey Bay to submit a portfolio. And we used to only do film, but the last couple of years we've opened it to digital and film, just because the reality is a lot of schools don't have darkrooms. But if they have a photography program at all, we consider that a win. So we just want to take as much as we can, the kids that are interested in photography to submit and have the chance to win. So We actually accept students from Monterey and Santa Cruz County, and we started a elementary school category last year that we're going to continue this year. So some of the students that I work with, we've decided to enter them as well. It's pretty cute. So we've awarded over $130,000. I know it says 20, but it's 130 since the founding. Super proud about that. The winners get a cash scholarship ranging from $1,000 for a first place to a $200 honorable mention, and then have their photo hung in an exhibition. So I think it's important to recognize the students for their work. A lot of the times it's like the first time they've ever been recognized for anything, and it's just special to see the parents come celebrate their kids at the award ceremony and how happy they are to, see their work hung up and even walk away with some money. The community space that we have at Martin Luther King School of the Arts, we moved in 2018. The school reached out wanting to partner with us, and we had the ability to be in that space and teach their kids and also build a dark room and rent it to the public. So we jumped on that opportunity. We've never had a space to really call our own. My parents did all that just out of their house. So being able to have those headquarters was super special to us, and it's really propelled us to new levels. At that program, we teach digital and analog. So we have a beginning digital class and we have a advanced film class. So we sort of run them through that process. Right now, we have 24 kids in the after-school program. I think 2 years ago we had 5. So it's been amazing to see that jump. And with the support from foundations in the community, we've been able to purchase a computer lab, digital cameras, and we used to only work with 5th and 6th graders, but now we're starting to work with 4th graders. So we're trying to get as many kids in as we can. We also we do a Facing Seaside project where we bring businesses into our studio for the students to take portraits of the employees, and so teaches them how to do portraiture, how they can use photography as a way to make money if they want. We also do product photography, so sometimes businesses will bring in like pastries or something and they get to photograph them. And it's just a good program to like introduce the kids with, people in the community that are doing good things. And this is our 3rd rendition of the program this year. So we've worked with a lot of amazing businesses, and just sort of tying the community together is super special. So yeah, like I was saying, we have a community darkroom. So we have not only kids coming in, but we have adults coming that want to practice darkroom photography. We teach a community darkroom class on Mondays and Wednesdays from 6 to 9. So if people want to continue doing darkroom and film, they can come in 2 days a week and print. We have 7 enlargers. We have the whole setup to print all the way up to 16 by 20. We also teach workshops. So we've done Sienna type workshops, alternative processes, film workshops. I do tutorials for people that are interested in learning how to do developing, do printing. In addition to the programming that we're doing at Martin Luther King School of the Arts, we've expanded to Aromas Unified School District. So we're doing 2 programs there, which is super awesome. Right now, we're actually working with 4 different schools. So it's been a dream of ours to use that space to bring kids into our studio. It's a lot harder it's hard for kids to like get to our studio to use. I mean, it's such an awesome place, but transportation's an issue. So being able to collaborate with schools to bring our program and curriculum to them has been really amazing, and sort of the trajectory that we're going in now. So yeah, it's been amazing, and thank you guys all for listening.
Awesome. Oh, so great to review all the amazing things you've done with the Weston Collective and get a great review with some new stories from the family. Really appreciated that. You by the heater?
Yes.
Cozy. So we have an opportunity for one or two questions. We got anything burning in the audience? Then we're going to go to announcements in the community. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, the difference between what the kind of photography you're doing in the darkroom and digital photography. Do you ever use digital? And if so, the difference between digital photography, do you ever use it, and the darkroom photography that you now use?
Yeah, so for my own personal like fine art photography, I only do film. I do use a digital camera to document events or document the kids working so I can share on social media. But all of my like fine art stuff is strictly film.
Why is that?
Because that's just what I was taught. It's what I like. I like the process of it. I like, I don't know, just being more hands-on with the process. With digital, I tend to get a little bit overwhelmed with how many pictures I end up taking and putting on the computer and having to figure out where they all are. And I don't know, it's just like, I'd rather be in the darkroom and not be looking at a screen, I guess.
Yeah. I take the community darkroom class, and it's just such a relief to get into that room. It's also nostalgic to be in a classroom. I don't know how many people feel nostalgic about that, but to get in the dark room and have the chemicals already made, which is like such a relief, and to know that you've got great equipment, it's been really a treasure to make art and like have a space where it's like, I have to go make art now. Do it. Any other questions?
Awesome.
Awesome. Well,
Thank you.
So much. Such a pleasure. Thanks for also bringing a beautiful print. You guys should come up here and take a closer look at the details. I'd be happy to talk more about why this is amazing one-on-one if anybody has any questions.
Me.
You want this?
I'll take this thing.
Okay.
Yeah, so again, thank you to Zach. That was awesome.